There are stories we all think we know. We've heard them since childhood, repeated in sermons, immortalized in works of art. Few tales are as deeply rooted in the human mind as that of a perfect garden, a man, a woman, and a serpent. But what if everything you've ever heard about the serpent in Eden was only the surface of a much deeper story? What if the figure we were taught to fear was not merely a deceiver, but an ancient symbol overflowing with hidden meaning? Before we begin this journey, I invite you to subscribe to our channel, The Secret Bible, and hype this video so that more truth seekers can discover the secrets about to be revealed. From Genesis, we are told that a serpent approached the first woman and tempted her to eat from the fruit of the tree of knowledge. That single act triggered a chain of events that would change the fate of humanity forever. Yet when we look closer, questions arise. Why a serpent? Why is its message centered on knowing good and evil? Was it a simple villain or a messenger of something deeper? Throughout this episode, we'll explore these questions and many more. Chapter 1. Beyond the Forbidden Fruit. The scene of Eden is often reduced to a simple image: a woman seduced by a serpent offering her a fruit, and a man who joins her in the fall. But the Genesis text is far more complex than most imagine. It tells us the serpent was shrewd, more than any beast of the field, and that it approached the woman to speak. That word, shrewd, can also mean wise or discerning. From the beginning, the serpent is presented not as a monster, but as an intelligent being. In the dialogue that follows, the serpent neither curses nor threatens, it questions. Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? When the woman replies that there is only one forbidden fruit, the serpent argues, you will not die. Your eyes will be opened, and you will be like gods. The story does not describe this temptation in the language of evil, but of curiosity. The serpent speaks of wisdom, of open eyes, of divinity itself. Faced with this promise of knowledge, the woman looks at the tree and sees that the fruit is good to eat, pleasant to the eyes, and desirable for gaining wisdom. She takes it and eats. Then she gives it to her companion. In that instant, both of their eyes are opened, and they realize they are naked. The discovery is not painted as an act of pure wickedness, but as the loss of innocence, the birth of moral awareness. So who then is the serpent? A deceiver or the catalyst of human awakening? That ambiguity will be the starting point of our journey. Chapter 2. Ancient Roots of the Serpent. To truly understand the serpent of Eden, we must look beyond the biblical text and journey deep into the myths and symbols of the ancient Near East. Long before Genesis was written, serpents already coiled through humanity's oldest stories as guardians, healers, bringers of chaos, and keepers of wisdom. In Sumeria and Babylonia, serpents were sacred creatures, connected to life, renewal, and divine knowledge. In the Sumerian myth of Gudea, a serpent named Ningish-Zida guarded the entrance to the realm of the gods. In Egypt, the serpent Mehen protected the solar god Ra during his nightly voyage through the underworld, encircling him like a shield of living energy. But Egypt also gave us Apophis, the serpent of chaos, who tried each night to devour the sun and was defeated so dawn could return. In Ugaritic myths, the sea monster Lotan, a great serpent defeated by the god Baal, represented the conquest of chaos by divine order. These stories reveal a fascinating paradox. The serpent was not just one thing. It could be a protector or a destroyer, a bringer of life or a symbol of death. Because of its power to shed its skin, it came to embody eternity and transformation. The Ouroboros, the serpent devouring its own tail, first appeared in Egyptian and Greek texts as a sign of infinity, the endless cycle of creation and dissolution. It whispered of a deep philosophical truth, that life renews itself endlessly, that death feeds birth. Seen in this light, The serpent of Eden might not be a demon in disguise, but the reflection of far older archetypes. It could represent the meeting point between the sacred and the forbidden, carrying echoes of ancient wisdom that the biblical authors reshaped to fit their theology. The serpent, then, is not born in Eden. It returns there, carrying millennia of meaning in its scales. Chapter 3. A voice of knowledge, not of deception. When we examine the serpent's words in Eden, we discover something unexpected. Its promise wasn't entirely a lie. The serpent told the woman that if she ate the fruit, she would not die, but her eyes would be opened, and she would be like the gods, knowing good and evil. And what happens next? She eats, and humanity does not die, at least not immediately. Instead, consciousness awakens. They become aware of themselves, of right and wrong, of vulnerability and shame. They sow leaves together to cover their nakedness, begin to till the ground, to build, to create. That single act of defiance ignites the spark of civilization. The knowledge of good and evil is the birth of ethics, and with it, the dawn of human culture. In some Gnostic traditions, the serpent was never seen as evil, but as a bringer of gnosis, the sacred knowledge that frees the spirit. According to these teachings, the world was not created by the true God, but by an ignorant demiurge who trapped divine sparks within human bodies. The serpent, sent by the higher realm, came to awaken humanity from that illusion. In this view, the serpent becomes a liberator, and the god who forbids the fruit becomes an oppressor, a reversal that turns the entire story upside down. For the Gnostics, the serpent is the first to whisper freedom into human ears. Orthodox Christianity, of course, condemned these ideas as heresy. But their existence reveals a truth. The serpent's meaning has never been fixed. It has always been ambivalent, a symbol of both danger and enlightenment. Perhaps the serpent represents the human quest for awareness, for the courage to know. Without its intervention, humanity might have remained in eternal infancy, obedient, innocent, and ignorant. With it begins the long journey of growth, suffering, and self-discovery. The serpent's whisper, then, may not have been a curse. It may have been the first invitation to wake up. Chapter 4. The geopolitical background of Eden, beyond theology. Some scholars suggest that the story of Eden should also be read within its historical and social context. Genesis was not written in a vacuum. It emerged from a world of competing nations, beliefs, and gods. In that ancient landscape, the serpent was a familiar religious symbol among neighboring cultures, particularly in Canaan and Egypt. It appeared in temples, amulets, and myths as a divine or protective figure. By portraying the serpent as a deceiver, the biblical authors may have been doing more than telling a moral tale. They were drawing a line between their faith and the rival serpent cults surrounding them. The Eden narrative, in this sense, becomes a theological boundary marker, a subtle critique of foreign religions and their influence on Israel. To call the serpent a liar was to delegitimize the symbols of neighboring gods. The fall of humanity thus also reflects the fall of a people seduced by foreign ways, turning away from their covenant with their own God. But there's another, more anthropological layer to the story. Some researchers interpret Eden as an allegory for humanity's transition from hunter-gatherer societies to agricultural civilization. Inside the garden, food is abundant and effortless. Nature provides. Outside, the land must be tilled and the soil must yield through labor and pain. The expulsion, then, represents more than a punishment. It marks the beginning of human responsibility. The serpent, by urging the couple to eat, opens the door to self-awareness and work, to the very idea of transforming the earth. This myth may have captured the pivotal moment when humans stepped out of the wild paradise of instinct and entered the age of culture, order, and struggle. In this light, the serpent of Eden becomes a symbol not of moral corruption, but of evolution, the awakening that propels humanity to take control of its destiny. Chapter 5. Serpents of Wisdom and Divinity. The symbolism of the serpent as a bearer of wisdom stretches across civilizations and millennia. From the temples of Mesoamerica to the shrines of ancient Greece, serpents slither through humanity's imagination as messengers of healing, transformation, and divine knowledge. In Mesoamerican mythology, the feathered serpent, Quetzalcoatl, was not a deceiver, but a civilizing god, a teacher who brought to humankind the calendar, agriculture, art, and the sacred laws that sustain balance in the cosmos. In Greece, the god Asclepius, patron of medicine, carried a staff around which a serpent coiled, the very symbol that still represents healing today. This same symbol, born from myth, still hangs over hospitals and pharmacies across the world. Even in the Hebrew tradition, the serpent does not always represent evil. In the desert, Moses raised a bronze serpent on a pole, and those who looked upon it were healed of their afflictions. Paradoxically, the serpent becomes an instrument of salvation, commanded by God Himself. That image reminds us that the serpent's role is not confined to darkness. It can also be a channel of divine restoration. Across the Indian subcontinent, the Nagas, serpent beings, dwell in rivers and forests, guarding treasures and hidden wisdom. In West Africa and the Haitian Vodou tradition, the great serpent Damballa is revered as the spirit of creation and life. Among the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, the rainbow serpent shapes the rivers and mountains, giving form to the world. Everywhere it appears, the serpent stands at the crossroads of duality, life and death, creation and destruction, wisdom and deceit. Its nature is liminal, existing between worlds, mediating between heaven and earth, between what is seen and what is hidden. Seen this way, the serpent of Eden belongs to a vast and ancient lineage, a lineage of divine serpents who connect the spiritual and the material, who awaken and protect, who destroy only to make renewal possible. Perhaps it is not a villain after all, but a mirror of the mysterious power that moves the universe, the eternal dance of transformation. Chapter 6. The serpent as a psychological archetype. Beyond history and religion, the serpent lives deep within the human mind, as a psychological archetype that transcends culture and time. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung described the serpent as one of the most primordial symbols of the unconscious, an embodiment of instinct, transformation, and renewal. In dreams, visions, and myths, serpents often appear as guides, leading us into the dark depths of our psyche where hidden truths await. Their power to shed their skin becomes a living metaphor for rebirth, for the ability to let go of what no longer serves and step into a new form of being. In the story of Eden, the serpent may represent precisely this inner process, the moment when consciousness separates from innocence and begins to recognize itself. By eating from the tree of knowledge, humanity moves from a state of unconscious unity with nature into a realm of self-awareness, morality, and identity. That act, so often condemned as the fall, could instead be understood as the beginning of individuation, the birth of the self. From this psychological lens, the serpent is not an external enemy. It is part of us. It is the voice that questions, that urges us to explore, that tempts us to step beyond comfort and illusion. Its deception is not malicious but necessary, a challenge that forces the ego to grow and the soul to evolve. The shame that follows, the awareness of nakedness, is the painful price of consciousness. It marks the end of innocence and the start of wisdom. This inner serpent invites each of us to confront our own shadows, to awaken our latent potential, and to face the truth that growth is impossible without transformation. To reinterpret the serpent, then, is to recognize it within ourselves, to see it not as the destroyer of paradise, but as the initiator of awakening. Chapter 7. The serpent as a symbol of feminine power. In many ancient traditions, the serpent is intertwined with feminine energy, with fertility, intuition, and the creative pulse of life itself. In the ancient Minoan culture of Crete, priestesses were often depicted holding serpents in both hands, symbols of wisdom, healing, and sacred power. The serpent, living close to the earth and the hidden waters below, was a natural emblem of renewal, sexuality, and life force. It represented the rhythmic cycles of birth, death, and regeneration that mirror the mysteries of the feminine body and the seasons of nature. Seen in this light, the serpent's presence in Eden beside the woman takes on a new meaning. It is not a tempter preying upon her weakness, but a teacher recognizing her strength, acknowledging her connection to the earth and to the ancient current of intuition that flows through all creation. When the serpent speaks to Eve and not to Adam, it might symbolize that bridge, the woman as the mediator of wisdom, the one capable of receiving and transmitting divine insight. This reading reclaims Eve not as the cause of the fall, but as the bringer of consciousness, the one who dares to take the first step toward knowledge and change. In that act, she becomes not the sinner, but the first philosopher, the one who chooses awareness over obedience. For centuries, however, this partnership between woman and serpent has been demonized. Why? Perhaps because the story was rewritten in a patriarchal world that feared the union of feminine wisdom and natural power. To control the serpent was to suppress the feminine. And so Eve became the scapegoat of humanity's suffering, a warning against curiosity and independence. But when we revisit older myths and Gnostic writings, we find a different truth. Some communities worshipped Sophia, the divine feminine aspect of wisdom, and saw in Eve a reflection of her. In those texts, the serpent becomes an ally, the messenger of the goddess, the voice that awakens humanity from spiritual sleep. From this perspective, the serpent is not a symbol of temptation. It is the serpent of enlightenment, a manifestation of the divine feminine calling humanity to awaken. To reinterpret the serpent, then, is to restore balance. It is to remember that wisdom is not rebellion, and that within every forbidden question lies the seed of liberation. Chapter 8. The Serpent in Apocryphal and Intertestamental Texts. Between the Old and New Testaments lies a vast and mysterious library of writings, texts that were never included in the official canon, yet preserve echoes of ancient revelations. Among these apocryphal and intertestamental works, the Serpent of Eden reappears in new and fascinating forms. The Book of Enoch, for instance, speaks of celestial beings who descend to earth to teach humanity forbidden knowledge, astronomy, metallurgy, enchantments. Though the serpent is not mentioned directly, the theme of divine knowledge given to humankind resonates powerfully with the Genesis narrative. It suggests that the original sin might not have been moral disobedience, but the act of learning itself. In certain Gnostic texts, such as the Apocryphon of John, creation is described not as the work of a perfect God, but of an ignorant archon, a lesser being who traps the divine spark within matter. In this version, a higher spirit of wisdom, often feminine, takes the form of a serpent to awaken Adam and Eve to their true divine origin. Here, the serpent becomes nothing less than an emissary of the true God, opposing the tyranny of the false one. These writings transform the entire moral landscape of Genesis. What religion once called disobedience, they reinterpret as liberation, a cosmic rebellion in favor of truth. To eat the fruit is to reclaim divine consciousness, to remember who we really are. Even within Jewish tradition, later commentaries and translations expand upon the serpent's mystery. In the Targums, Aramaic versions of Genesis, the serpent is described as a creature that once walked upright before being cursed to crawl. Some midrashic stories say the serpent desired Eve and acted out of jealousy. Others imagine it as a hybrid being, half angel, half animal, bridging two worlds. These elaborations show the immense creativity with which ancient rabbis wrestled with the story. They were not satisfied with one meaning. They sought to uncover the layers beneath it. In their hands, the serpent became more than a villain. It became a mirror of divine mystery, an invitation to think, to question, to wonder. Through the apocryphal imagination, the serpent of Eden evolves from a tempter into a teacher, a symbol of the eternal struggle between ignorance and revelation. Chapter 9. Echoes of the serpent in Revelation and other prophecies. The serpent reappears at the very end of the Bible, in the final and most enigmatic of all its books, Revelation. There, the story that began in the Garden of Eden reaches its apocalyptic conclusion. John's vision speaks of a great dragon, that ancient serpent, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. This dragon is cast down into the abyss after a cosmic battle between light and darkness. With that single passage, the serpent of Genesis and the dragon of Revelation are joined, forming a continuous thread from the beginning of creation to its fiery end. Yet Revelation is not a simple story of good versus evil. It is a book of symbols, coded language, and archetypes drawn from ancient myth. The dragon represents not just a spiritual adversary, but also an empire, a system of oppression, a power that devours the innocent and seeks to silence truth. The serpent, transformed into a dragon, becomes the ultimate image of human corruption and divine confrontation. But outside the canonical text, other prophecies tell a different tale. In Gnostic traditions, the serpent is not destroyed, it returns. It reappears as a liberating spirit, destined to free the souls trapped within the material world. Its descent into darkness was never a fall. It was a mission. The serpent becomes the Redeemer in disguise, carrying the fire of divine knowledge into the prison of flesh. Even within Jewish mysticism, particularly in Kabbalistic teachings, the serpent reemerges with an entirely different meaning. Some mystics associate it with the tree of life, describing its ascent along the human spine as the rising of divine energy toward enlightenment. This serpentine current, moving through the body like a luminous spiral, mirrors the soul's own climb toward union with the infinite. Across these interpretations, the serpent ceases to be a static symbol. It becomes a cosmic traveler, appearing in Genesis as a whisper, in Revelation as a dragon, and in mystical visions as a radiant force of awakening. From the beginning of time to the end of all things, the serpent remains with us, a silent reminder that the path to knowledge is both dangerous and divine. Chapter 10. Serpents and Shamanism. Beyond the world of organized religion, the serpent continues to play a central role in the oldest spiritual practices on earth, shamanic traditions. In these ancient paths, the serpent is not a symbol of sin, but a teacher, a guardian spirit, a bridge between worlds. In the Amazon rainforest, countless tribes describe encounters with enormous serpents during ceremonies involving sacred plants such as ayahuasca. Shamans call them spirits of knowledge, luminous beings that reveal the hidden language of the jungle. They teach songs, heal the sick, and reveal how to work with the plants that sustain both body and soul. To see the serpent in a vision is not a curse, it is an initiation. In Mesoamerica, the shamanic figure of the feathered serpent once again appears, guiding rituals and connecting heaven and earth. To the ancient peoples of these lands, the serpent's ability to move between the ground and the air symbolized transcendence, the mastery of both the material and the spiritual. Far to the north, among the Siberian and Central Asian shamans, serpents are seen as guardians of the underworld, powerful beings encountered during trance journeys. They guard the gates of hidden realms, testing the courage of those who seek wisdom beyond the veil of death. Across all these traditions, the serpent represents hidden knowledge and the art of communication between worlds. Its ability to slide into the earth and vanish into unseen places turns it into a symbol of access to the invisible. When we reinterpret the Serpent of Eden through the lens of shamanism, the story takes on new life. The serpent becomes the spirit mediator, the messenger between divine and human realms. Its fruit is no longer a forbidden object. It becomes a sacred plant, a medicine that opens the eyes of the spirit and awakens perception beyond the limits of the ordinary world. Perhaps the fruit of the tree of knowledge was never meant to be literal. Perhaps it was a metaphor for an ancient visionary experience, the awakening of consciousness through contact with the sacred. In this sense, the Serpent of Eden may have been humanity's first shamanic guide, inviting us to trade our innocence for wisdom, our blindness for sight, and our silence for the song of awakening. Chapter 11. The Serpent and the Duality of Good and Evil. In the traditional reading of Genesis, the serpent is cast as the villain, the embodiment of evil, the betrayer of divine trust. But if we look deeper into the story, through the lens of duality, something profound begins to emerge. Good and evil are not absolute. They are two sides of the same coin. The knowledge of good and evil is precisely that, the awareness of opposites. By eating the fruit, humanity awakens to the polarity of existence, to the realization that every action carries consequence, every light casts a shadow. The serpent then does not create evil, it reveals it. It forces humanity to face the complexity of moral choice, to recognize that innocence and ignorance are not the same thing. With knowledge comes responsibility, and with consciousness comes the weight of decision. This is why the serpent's act is so powerful. It represents the integration of the shadow, the moment when human beings step beyond simplicity and begin to wrestle with the mystery of their own nature. To know both good and evil is to become truly human. Even the serpent itself embodies this duality. Its venom can kill, but it can also heal. Its movement can be silent and deadly, or graceful and protective. It can hide in the darkness or bask in the sun. It is both the wound and the medicine. In many spiritual traditions, evil is not a separate force, but the absence of understanding, a shadow born from ignorance. In Eden, the so-called sin is curiosity itself, the instinct to seek beyond what is permitted. Yet that same curiosity ignites everything that defines civilization: art, science, love, progress, and doubt. The serpent, in this sense, is not merely a deceiver, but a mirror reflecting our potential for both creation and destruction. It shows us that the path to enlightenment is not about choosing light over darkness, but learning to hold both within us, without fear. The Serpent of Eden thus becomes a symbol of integration, not division. The eternal reminder that to truly awaken, we must embrace every part of what we are.